Internal audit. Meaning and objectives of internal audit. Internal audit provides independent assurance on effectiveness of internal controls and risk management process to enhance governance and achieve organizational objectives. Objectives of internal audit: monitoring of internal controls, examination of financial and operating information, review of operating activities, review of compliance with laws and regulations, risk management, governance. Applicability of internal audit. As per Section 138 of Companies Act 2013, following companies shall be required to appoint an internal auditor. Every listed company, every unlisted public company having paid up share capital of 50 crores or more, or turnover of 200 crores or more, outstanding loans or borrowings from banks or public financial institutions exceeding 100 crores or more at any time, or outstanding deposits of 25 crores or more at any time during the preceding financial year. In an ascending order, first 25 crores, next 50 crores, next 100 crores, next 200 crores, 25 crores, deposits 50 crores, paid up share capital 100 crores, borrowings 200, turnover during the preceding financial year should be checked. In case of private company having turnover of 200 crores or more, or outstanding loans or borrowings from banks or public financial institutions exceeding 100 crores or more at any time during the preceding financial year should have internal auditor. In case of private company, first 100 crores, next 200 crores, 100 crores for borrowings, 200 for turnover. Company which gets covered under above criteria shall apply with the requirements within 6 months of such applicability. Who can be appointed as internal auditor? An internal auditor may either be an individual or a partnership firm or a body corporate. Internal auditor shall either be a CA or CMA, whether engaged in practice or not, or such other professional as decided by the board to conduct internal audit functions and activities of the company. Internal auditor may or may not be an employee of the company. Activities and responsibilities of internal auditor. Activities performed by internal audit function. Internal audit function performs number of activities to achieve its objectives as outlined in its charter or terms of engagement. Critical activities of internal audit function are as follows: define overall plan, scope, and methodology of internal audit function on a periodical basis, oversee and monitor various audit assignments, their planning, execution, and reporting of findings, plan, engage, and review performance, training and development of staff and other resources, identify and engage external experts and technical solutions, communicate with all key stakeholders regarding achievement of objectives. What are the responsibilities of internal auditor? With respect to accounting function and financial records, responsibilities of internal auditor include to ascertain adequacy of internal control system and to provide adequate safeguards against misappropriation of assets, to operate independently of accounting staff and not divest with responsibilities placed upon him, not to involve in performance of executive functions, to observe facts and situations and bring them to notice of authorities, also critically apprise various policies of the management, to associate closely with management and keep knowledge up to date. Internal audit plan and scope of internal auditing. Internal audit plan. Internal auditor should, in consultation with those charged with the governance and audit committee. Internal auditor should, in consultation with those charged with the governance and audit committee, develop a document, a plan for each internal audit engagement to conduct engagement in efficient and timely manner. Internal audit plan should be developed such that appropriate consideration is made to following: risk underlying the business process, value that internal audit can provide to organization, effort involved in conducting internal audit, risk appetite of organization, coverage of all auditable areas within defined time range, scope of internal auditing or review of work by internal auditor. Each managerial functions should be reviewed by internal auditor. Scope of internal auditor's work should include review of ICC ROUA. Hint: ICC ROUA. I. Internal control system and procedures. C. Custodianship and safeguarding of assets. C. Compliance with policies, plans, regulations. R. Relevance and reliability of information. O. Organizational structure. U. Utilization of resources. Another A is accomplishment of goals and objectives. First one, internal control system and procedures. It involves assessing operational efficiency and effectiveness of internal control system to strengthen overall internal control environment of the entity. Next, custodianship and safeguarding of asset. It involves verifying existence of assets, ensuring all assets are accounted fully, and reviewing control system for intangible assets. Compliance with policies, plans, and regulations. Internal auditor has no responsibility to manage compliance framework or to take compliance decisions. It is the management responsibility. Internal auditor is responsible for auditing or reviewing compliance framework. Relevance and reliability of information. Internal auditors should review information systems to evaluate reliability of information given to management and external agencies. Organizational structure. Internal auditor should conduct appraisal of organizational structure to know whether it is in harmony with objectives. For this purpose, he should review manner in which activities of enterprise are grouped for managerial control, examine organizational chart to check whether structure is simple and economical, see the responsibilities of managerial staff do not overlap with chief executives, examine reasonableness of span of control of each executive, review adequate segregation of duties is considered while defining organizational structure, evaluate process of managerial development in enterprise, utilization of resources. Internal auditor should check whether proper standards and norms have been established for measuring efficient use of resources. He should review methods of establishing standards and norms. If there is wide divergence between actual performance and corresponding standards, reasons may be considered. Accomplishment of accomplishment of goals and objectives. Internal auditor should review overall objectives of the enterprise to evaluate whether they are clearly stated and attainable. Integrity, objectivity, independence, and qualities of internal auditor. Integrity, objectivity, independence of internal auditor. Internal auditor shall free from any undue influence which force him to deviate from truth, resist any undue pressure in establishing scope of assignments, honest, truthful, and person of high integrity, avoid all conflicts of interest, and not derive any undue personal advantage from his position, conduct his work in a highly objective manner, and not allow bias to override his objectivity. Next, qualities of internal auditor. Some specialized knowledge and expertise that internal auditor should obtain are special expertise for evaluating management control systems, accounting and financial expertise to discharge duties, knowledge of technology and commercial practices of enterprise, knowledge of commerce, laws, taxation, cost accounting, economics, and controls relating to IT, understanding of accounting software, ERP system, and other applications used by organization, understanding of management principles, and ability to deal with people. Performing internal audit engagement. Internal auditor should follow following 5 steps in performing internal audit engagement. Step 1, obtain knowledge of the business and its environment. Step 2, perform audit planning. Step 3, gather required information. Step 4, perform audit checks. Step 5, reporting of internal audit issues. All these steps are to be performed while performing any internal audit engagement in same sequence. Internal audit report. Stages of reporting. Reporting of internal audit results is generally undertaken in 2 stages. At the end of assignment, a report covering specific area or function of entity is prepared by internal auditor, highlighting key observations. This report is issued to auditee with copies shared with local management. On periodic basis, at close of a plan period, a comprehensive report of all internal audit activities covering plan period is prepared by chief internal auditor. Such reporting is normally done on quarterly basis and submitted to audit committee. Key elements of internal audit report. Internal auditor shall issue a clear, well-documented report which includes following key elements: overview of objectives, scope, and approach of audit assignments, fact that an internal audit has been conducted as per standards on internal audit, executive summary of key observations covering all important aspects, summary of corrective actions required for each observation, nature of assurance which can be derived from observations. No internal audit report shall be issued in final form unless a written draft of report has been shared with auditee. A report shall be issued within reasonable time from completion of internal audit work. Content and format of internal audit report. Typical internal audit report should include following: audit scope performed, audit period covered, executive summary and summary of critical findings, a rating of highlighted issues as per rating criteria approved by audit committee, recommendations to improve control environment, a response received from a responsible authority containing action plan and timelines for action. Follow up. Chief Internal Auditor is responsible for continuously monitoring closure of prior audit issues through timely implementation of action plans, included in the past audits. Responsibility to implement action plans remains with management. Internal auditor should report summary of action taken by the management of previous audits through action taken report ATR. Typical taken report may include following. Typical ATR may include following: a reference to previous audit reporting containing the reported issues, implementation action agreed by the management along with target implementation data, status of action taken by management classified under implemented or not implemented, residual risk and rating for any unimplemented action, audit findings not implemented for a long time, any critical audit findings that require immediate action. What is the difference between internal audit and external audit? Internal audit is performed by independent internal audit department within organization or by external bodies, whereas external audit is conducted by independent body which is not a part of organization. Internal audit examines operational controls adequacy, whereas external audit examines accuracy and validity of financial statements. Internal auditors are appointed by audit committee or board of directors, whereas external auditor are appointed by members, that is shareholders. Users of internal audit report. Top management and statutory auditor will use internal audit report, whereas stakeholders will use external audit report. Internal auditor will report on weakness in internal controls and effectiveness of operational activities. External auditor will report on truthfulness and fairness of financial statements. Auditor status. Internal auditor could be an employee of the company, whereas external auditor cannot be an employee of the company. Next, audit trail. Audit trail or edit log is a visible trail of evidence enabling one to trace information contained in statements or reports. Audit trails are chronological record of changes made to data. Record maintained at audit trail. Records maintained at audit trail may include following information: when changes were made, that is timestamp, who made the changes, user ID, what data was changed, data or transaction reference, internal controls. In order to demonstrate that audit trail feature was functional, operated, and wasn't disabled, companies shall design and implement specific internal controls. List of internal controls to be implemented and operated are controls that ensure audit trail feature has not been disabled or deactivated. User IDs are assigned to each individual and that user ID are not shared. Configuration changes of audit trail are authorized and changes logs are maintained. Access to audit trail is restricted and access logs are maintained. Periodic backups of audit trails are taken and archived as per statutory period. Factors responsible for high employee attrition rate. Following are the factors responsible for high employee attrition rate: job stress and work life imbalance, wrong policies of management, unbearable behavior of senior staff, safety factors, limited opportunities for promotion, low monetary benefits, lack of labor welfare schemes. Internal audit as a management function. Management is a process by which the affairs of an enterprise are conducted in such a manner that its goals and objectives are attained through optimum utilization of all available resources, within legal, social, economic, and environmental constraints. At the most fundamental level, management functioning is a set of five general functions: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. While the first five functions of planning, organizing, staffing, and, and leading are critical attributes to create and grow stakeholders' wealth, which controlling is the critical function that is key to preserve stakeholders' wealth. As per the revised definition of the term internal audit, as per para 3 of the ICS framework governing internal audit provides independent assurance on the effectiveness of the internal controls and risk management process to enhance governance and achieve organizational objectives. Accordingly, internal auditor is expected to critically evaluate the management activities and advise them on the areas of improving internal controls and manage business and operational risks effectively by recommending appropriate mitigating controls. Internal audit is an important element of a management controlling function. It helps management to set up appropriate systems and promote and process in place to mitigate risk while remaining independent to the operations. Internal auditor is expected to report on the identified gaps and areas of weak internal control. Further, he is expected to identify the root cause of the problems and suggest appropriate mitigating steps and strengthen the internal control environment of the organization. Accordingly, internal audit is seen as an important function that helps management to achieve organizational goals and perform its functions in a orderly manner. Next, determining whether, in which areas, and to what extent the work of the internal audit function can be used. Evaluating the internal audit function. Evaluation of internal audit function includes appraisal activity, examining or evaluating adequacy and effectiveness of the internal controls, scope of internal audit function, review of internal controls, examination of financial and operational records and transactions, review of operating activities, review of regulatory laws and compliance. Objective of evaluation of internal audit function: evaluate and improve the effectiveness of internal controls. Determining the nature and extent of work of the internal audit function that can be used. The external auditor shall not use the work of the internal audit function if the external auditor determines that the function's organizational status and the relevant policies and procedures do not adequately support the objectivity of the internal auditors. The function lacks sufficient competence or the function does not apply a systematic and disciplined approach, including quality control. Next, determining whether, in which areas, and to what extent internal auditors can be used to provide direct assistance. Nature and extent of work that can be assigned to internal auditors providing direct assistance. The external auditor shall consider amount of judgment with respect to planning and performing relevant audit procedures, evaluation of audit evidence gathered, assess risks of material misstatements, evaluation of existence and significance of threats. The external auditor shall not use internal auditors to provide direct assistance to perform procedures, making significant judgments in the audit related to higher assessed risks of material misstatements, where the judgment required is more than limited, related to work which is reported to management are those charged with the governance by internal audit function, related to decisions the external auditor makes in accordance with SA 610. Next, if the external auditor uses internal auditors to provide direct assistance on the audit, the external auditor shall include in the audit documentation the evaluation of existence and significance of the threats to the objectivity of the internal auditors and the level of competence of the internal auditors used to provide direct assistance. The basis for the decision regarding the nature and extent of the work performed by the internal auditors, who reviewed the work performed, and the date and the extent of that review in accordance with SA 230 audit documentation. The written agreements obtained from a authorized representative of the entity and the internal auditors, and working papers prepared by the internal auditors who provided direct assistance on audit engagement. Finally, in India, even the statute has now recognized that internal audit is necessary for the efficient running of the companies. Thus, a review of the internal audit function in specified companies has become a statutory responsibility for the statutory auditor.